Why do I keep lifting? I'm not a world record contender. I was never even good enough at any sport to be a washed up athlete. I do it because I love it, and I'm curious about what I'm capable of. So I press on. But I'm also an artist. I think a decent one. I could be really good if I put in enough time. So I wonder, how do I do this Renaissance man thing? Everything seems to get in the way of each other. According to the Florentines of the 15th century, a Renaissance man can do all things if he will. But how? I have laundry, taxes, and a full-time job. And look at Da Vinci. The only stain in his legacy that gets masked behind his genius was a large heap of ambitious works that were left unfinished. Are we all doomed as he was? He was a genius. And if he was a genius, are we normies doomed to a life of having too many hobbies we're mediocre at? Not to be too dramatic, I've always been bothered that I may never be able to master anything in my lifetime, always being haunted by the captivations of my interests. One day I'm dreaming about dedicating the rest of my life to mastering my drawing technique, and the next day I'm thinking of all the ways I can squat more, bench more. I may have a potential practical solution to this. For the past couple of years, I've been organizing my endeavors to be seasonal.
The heavy cream and the mascarpone for the filling, but I'm gonna get these back in the fridge. One of those steps where you don't want to leave this mixture here without mixing it, because there's a thing you'll hear in pastry where it's
For half of the year, I'll focus on my athletic goals, and the other half I'll focus on my creative aspirations. While I prep for a powerlifting meet, I'll bring down all my creative activity to merely keeping current with my pocket sketchbook, gathering ideas and inspiration for my creative phase of the year. And while I work on a big drawing, my training days are brought down to a 2-day per week cruise at maintenance, allowing my body to rest and regain sensitivity. It's worked quite well for me so far. It allows me to make larger steps towards improving my skills in a focused and organized way. Doing this also creates anticipation for me. I'm always looking forward to the next thing, which generates a constant supply of momentum no matter what I'm doing. You actually might remember in one of my previous episodes of Starving Artist Summer, I took a trip to my parents' house, and while I was there, I took a picture of my dad reading the Bible between training sets. And like I said in that video, it's left a pretty strong impression on me. This was part of my dad's routine almost every morning, and I would pretty much see it every day when I walked to school as I walked through the garage of my parents' house. And that's the source of where the idea for this piece came from. I think all those years watching my dad maintain this steady and stable routine, I think it's really influenced me as a person into being someone who keeps healthy habits, whose habits really develop me as a person. My dad was also never extreme in any way, and I think that's a really underrated trait in my dad. He would tell me the importance of being a balanced person. But he also lived it. That's probably the biggest thing I've taken away from my dad, is just trying to be a more balanced person. Of course, I try to be better at the things that I do, but I never let it cripple me, and I never let it become this massive black hole that feeds into any other deficiency I might have. So is that it? Problem solved? Now I can just embrace humanism in its loving arms, as the daily vicissitudes of my life simply melt away, right? Well, no. I still hear that voice telling me you're still not as good as you could be. It's time to grow up and pick something. Specialize and monetize like everybody else already. And no matter what I do, there are still only 24 hours in a day. Alright, you guys just saw the first 2 days of my weekly training program. I'm about 2.5 weeks out from my first time competing at the state level. Anyway, overall training's going pretty good. Could be better with how things are feeling, but it's all part of the process. I intentionally don't have a coach just because I want to learn as much as I can. I really want to show what I'm capable of at this competition, especially because it'll be one of my last times competing, at least for a while. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of really coming down to it. Even though I'm not particularly gifted at this sport, it's always fun to make progress and see what I'm capable of. And that's really the beauty of the sport. But anyway, I'm going to go home, eat some food, and do some drawing. At this point, I think it's time for another perspective. While that voice quiets down as I take this approach, it probably won't disappear entirely. Maybe it's not meant to. I was a bit misleading when I quoted Alberti, implying that early thinkers like Plato and Aristotle archaically suggested you can beat yourself into perfection using sheer willpower. The Renaissance man is an ideal, a perfect character, as much of a character as Achilles and Odysseus. The difference being that this idea is not bound by fate or destiny.
It is now the night before the competition, USAPL Raw State Championships. Pressure is definitely ratcheting up. I'm excited to see how things go tomorrow. It's been a really awesome journey, and I think no matter what happens tomorrow, as far as my performance goes, it'll be a really valuable experience for me, and just value added to my life, even if it might not be the outcome that I'm looking for or the meat that I wanted. So yeah, I thought I'd just put that out there. That's all I had to say. Good night.
This should be liberating to us, because we're not required to be born with supernatural abilities to see ourselves as heroes in our own lives. So why should we wish to be perfectly balanced in order to see ourselves as a Renaissance man?
Boy. Yes. Attaboy. 3 whites.
Perhaps the more useful conception of a Renaissance man is someone who embraces the unknown and his potential for flourishing in all aspects of life. He embarks to find it out of the well of his personal passion and curiosity. He continues to fight in a battle, arranged to champion specializers, and charges into the contradictions it entails, drowning out that voice that demands perfection.